So Ben, the people out there may be wondering, why is there no music when Dan streams?
Because we don't need to rely on fluffy music to get the viewers in. It's all about the content when it's me and you.
That's it.
And
It's got
and totally
nothing
not because we just haven't sussed it.
nothing to do with the fact that I haven't bothered to download the audio or figure out how to fade it in nicely, and which actually all sneak behind the scenes. Adam Burt doesn't do that properly. He just ramps the volume up and down on Windows Media Player or something like that. But
Wow. Full on expose happening right now. Just telling
exactly.
it to everyone. Hey Steve, how you doing?
Steve is happy it's Thursday, and I'm sure that's got nothing to do with the proximity to Friday and everything to do with a new Etch Play live show.
Absolutely.
Tony, welcome. Adam's secret has been revealed.
He's going to be furious if he hasn't tuned in yet and
He
he
clearly
finds
hasn't,
out.
because he would have said something by now.
Yeah,
Some
he definitely would have.
snarky swipe back at me.
Yeah. He better come though so that he can see the green boxes.
Yep. Joe is in the chat.
What up, Joe?
So yeah, like I said, no gentle music intro. We just get on, start waffling. But
Hard start.
that's it. That's how we roll. And it also means that we waffle. Excuse a little bit of my Paint.net updating and showing through on your camera there, but it was just
Yeah.
before 4 o'clock, I reckon. So it doesn't really count. And now it is 4 o'clock. Should we do what we're here to do?
Yeah, let's do that. It's Thursday, 4 o'clock. We're here, of course, live on Twitch. Let's do some news.
Yeah.
So, first bit of news, maybe somewhat surprising. There was rumblings of this last week, but it's now been confirmed that Google Stadia are shutting down its internal games development studios. It's impacting 2 studios, and that's going to be 150 developers that it makes a direct impact on. But they have said that they're going to try and find jobs elsewhere in Google for the developers. So hopefully they're not completely out of work. It's just a
There's
reassignment.
1 or 2 jobs going in an organization, little organization like that, isn't there?
Yeah, typically there's a few sweet swings here and there. So yeah, hopefully everyone's fine there and no one goes without work. The platform is still going to run as normal. They're just not going to be producing their own games. So it'll be interesting if it ever comes out in the future as to why they made this decision. Was it they just felt like they'd made the wrong decision and that wasn't the avenue they should be going down? Maybe there wasn't the consumer interest in the projects they were working on, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, hopefully everyone remains in work.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, it's interesting. Hopefully, it's not a sign of things to come. Google Stadia, we checked it out a few weeks ago. It's a good bit of kit. It's kind of looks like it's paving the way to where instant access gaming could get to. So yeah, hopefully it's just there shifting the focus to being a content delivery platform and less worrying about the content creation.
Yeah. Also, this week, and again, not surprising because this is something that just really needs to happen. Microsoft are seeking EU approval for their ZeniMax acquisition that broke last year. So the ink isn't quite dry, but I think everyone expects that deal is going to go through. And the approval that they're going through is the antitrust regulators, and they'll either say on it and will then potentially clear it or not clear it later down the line. But a decision on whether they've approved it initially will be made by the 5th of March, so about a month's time from now. And other acquisitions that have previously gone through this, when Activision took over King in 2016, and when Tencent bought Supercell also in 2016, and the Vivendi and Activision merger in 2008, which out of the back of it spawned Activision Blizzard. So I'm sure there'll be no issues for either party in that instance. It's just going through the checkbox exercise, and yeah, in about a month's time, we'll know if that's been approved, and finally the final signatures will be put on the box, and then the conversation will turn back to will the games become Microsoft exclusives, and I'm sure we'll find out very soon.
It's surprising that multi-billion-dollar acquisitions don't just happen overnight, it would seem.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like, here's the cash, back pocket, on you go. That's how I assumed it worked anyway, but you learn something new every day.
There we go.
Yeah. in potentially the most exciting news of the week, have you seen that Sonic the Hedgehog is getting a new Netflix animated series?
I have not, but that sounds interesting. Sounds very up your street.
It does. I will give it the same preface that I did the movie. This is either going to be absolutely amazing or terrible. Surprisingly, the movie was very middle of the road, which shocked me because I thought it was going to be one of the season. I wanted the scale, but I enjoyed it.
You like to hedge your bets, don't
Um,
you, on your predictions?
I do, yeah. It's bust or nothing for me. And also in Sonic news, it's getting Lego action figures that came in hot. Joe sent it to me about 10 minutes before we came live. So if it's Sonic, it's making it into the show. You're never
Sonic
too late with
Lego.
Sonic.
That
So
sounds
that
good.
will be cool. I had a quick look at it, and it does look cool. It's not the first time there's been Sonic Lego, but it's the first time in a while, and yeah, it looks pretty cool. So if that floats your boat, then yeah, pick yourself up some Sonic merch. Next, something that we've spoken about before is how well Game Pass can work for studios and their games. And it's been announced this week that the Blooper team, because of the medium, they've reported that they've already made a profit on the medium before the games come out, and that's largely down to the fact that the game is going to be on Game Pass at launch. It's currently scoring an average of 76 on Metacritic on PC and 71 on Xbox. So early reviews are good, but again, it just shows the power that Xbox Game Pass, or Microsoft Game Pass as it is, has on games. And if you can strike up a deal, you can make your money potentially before your game even comes out, which is the holy grail, really.
Yeah, I think that's really good for studios who can have that peace of mind, that comfort, even sort of before they've really got going, and maybe they can afford them to be a little bit more adventurous in their post-launch activity, and kind of gives them a bit of security for their next release. And yeah, I was watching a little bit of footage from the Medium. Looks like a really good game. Bit of a kind of horror feel to it, which I know floats some people's boat, but I thought it was looking very good.
Yeah, I can see that Ben Gammon is in the chat, and I know he's a massive fan of horror games. He totally doesn't get scared of them at all. So he'll definitely be checking that one out, I would assume. I know he's.
Share a little horror game related story myself and Ben Gamalam in the chat, as we got to have a early look at one of our clients' horror games, and it's kind of like a choose your path kind of narrative horror story. So I went first, played through this horror thing. It's like, right, Ben, you have a go, and we'll see what else happens. And he chose intentionally the exact same options as me because he was too scared to pick something else. So here we go. It's our big brave designer, Ben.
Yeah. Oh, classic Gam. Uh, Next in the news, so we spoke last week. I think because it's the end of the quarter in December for a lot of people, the numbers start coming out in January at the end of January, and we spoke last week about how well the quarter had gone for Xbox. This week we're going to talk about PlayStation. They've announced they did 4.5 million units of the PlayStation 5 in the last quarter, which again, same as Xbox, it came out in the middle of the quarter, not the beginning of the quarter. That's a really good achievement. So yeah, congratulations to PlayStation. I'm not surprised that they did so well. They typically always do. And after seeing how well Xbox did, it was kind of pretty sure PlayStation were going to do really high numbers as well. And I don't think we actually saw the official unit number for Xbox. I would imagine PlayStation's possibly higher as it tends to be, but yeah,
Yeah.
4.5 million is pretty good numbers.
I think especially with the challenges, and I always talk about this, but the challenges they had releasing a new console at the height of a pandemic, there was challenges around the launch content that's available. Even now, there's still kind of limited launch titles or platform specific titles. So yeah, good to see those hasn't hampered numbers at all.
Yep. And also in positive numbers, this is on the Nintendo side of things. Obviously, Nintendo haven't released a new console for a while, but it's just been reported that their Switch sales has already eclipsed the lifetime sales of the 3DS. And obviously, the Switch has only been out for 4 years, and it makes the Nintendo Switch Nintendo's fifth most successful console. And do you know what the five ahead of it are, or the four ahead of it are? Should I say maths?
N64.
It's not. I was really
Oh,
surprised that it's not because I've had three in my lifetime, so I've contributed three to the count. Uh, but it wasn't. It is. I've written it down. So the DS, the Wii, the Game Boy, and the Game Boy Advance, and the DS is the top sold at 154. I don't know whether I said the number for Nintendo Switch. Sorry, it's 79.87 million that they've sold. So they've got quite a way to go before they reach the top spot. But it's yeah, it's that's good going to beat the 3DS, and it's high up there. I mean, we've all got Switches in the play team. I love mine. I know quite a lot of us play them regularly, so it's a great console, great versatile console. So yeah, congrats to them on beating 3DS, and I'm sure we'll see it
continue
probably
to rise
continue
up the
to rise.
ranks. Yeah.
Uh, so typically we always have game delays on the show. That's kind of like that's you can guarantee we've got that news every week. But what is fast becoming the new we have it every week is an acquisition, and this time it is the Embracer Group, and they have acquired Gearbox, who developed Borderlands 3 for 1.3 billion. The Embracer Group was previously Nordic Games THQ, and now is the parent to THQ Nordic. Our friends over at Koch Media and Deep Silver, and all of the game studios that sit underneath them, and it was reported that at time of acquisition they've got about 5,500 employees, and now they've brought Gearbox into the fold. But 2K are still going to publish the Borderlands series, so that's not going to change. But Gearbox now sits in the Embracer Group, which is continuing to grow. As we say, we keep seeing more and more acquisitions every week, and I'm pretty sure this wasn't the only one this week, but
Yeah.
this is the one we're talking about.
Yeah, Embracer Group is they've been delivering a steady stream of growth and acquisitions, and they seem to do well with kind of picking up these existing big big IPs and yeah, giving them a new lease of life. So yeah, be very exciting and interesting to see how Gearbox fares under that new ownership.
Yeah. And there is a new Battlefield coming. If you're a fan of Battlefield, it was announced in the earnings call by EA CEO Andrew Wilson that there is a new Battlefield coming this year in the holiday season. And he's said to expect it to include immersive battles and more players than ever before. So if you're a fan of a series, watch out for that later on in the year. I'm sure more info will feed out during the year, and the game should be releasing unless we come to in 6 months' time. That is our weekly feature of which is the game that's delayed this week. But hopefully that won't be. And finally, just to round off the news, I don't know if you saw this. There is a Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which was revealed in a trailer this week, and fans are kind of mocking the amount of lens flare that that was on there, and seem question how much of an upgrade it really is. I've seen a side by side, and I'm struggling to see the upgrades. I guess you'll see it more in the earlier games as opposed to the later games, but that's coming. Fans aren't convinced yet, but we'll wait and see when it actually drops onto people's screens whether people see a noticeable difference.
That's yeah, that's an interesting one. Like I say, there's been a long history, but also a more recent history. But yeah, Mass Effect is a much loved franchise. I've never actually played any of the Mass Effect games, so maybe a remaster or a new edition could be a good opportunity for me to dive in and familiarize myself. Adam's being offended by the fact that I've never taken a
Yeah,
look. Sorry, Adam. He's a big
yeah.
fan.
Adam can
Mass Effect 2 is the best, though, as I understand it. Not that Adam talks about it a lot.
he can let us know if the Legendary Edition looks better. So, but yeah, that's all we've got for the news this week. Just before we go into this week's pre-recorded section, which is Adam and Pete dueling it out in Madden 20 as it's Super Bowl week. I just want to give you an opportunity, Dan, to speak about iMine from Special Effect.
Yes, so our games for good this week. iMine 2 has been released by Special Effect, the gamers charity that focuses on inclusivity, enabling people with physical disabilities to get into or continue playing games. And yeah, iMine is a piece of software they've developed which allows you to play Minecraft through eye tracking. So really, really sort of good initiative for enabling more people to play Minecraft. Great for young people. It's obviously such a major part of sort of young people's entertainment habits, and making that inclusive is really nice. And yeah, they've released a big update, iMine version 2, and you can get all the. They've got a nice video on gameaccess.info, which is kind of their resources site for video game accessibility. So yeah, go and check that out. That's been really nice to see that little update. Well done, Special Effect, as always, doing great work.
Really great work. Thank you for that, Dan. And yep, we're going to throw now to the pre-recorded section. Two of the most competitive people I've ever met to see who is the best at Madden. And stick with us, because after that, me and Dan will be back talking about one of our favorite subjects, the extended experience. And hot off the heels of the Sonic announcement, we'll be talking about how TV shows and films can impact video game sales. So stick with us and enjoy the NFL.
Excellent. Place your bets in the chat. Who's going to win? Peter, Adam?
Hey, and I'm joined by Pete Keating, or can I do an American accent? It's Peter Keating, because we're being American for the day. Hi, Pete. Welcome to the show.
Hi, y'all.
That was good. I like that. You've been practicing.
My American accent. Yeah.
We are here to reenact the Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl week. Super Bowl Sunday is this Sunday. It's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we thought we would play that out in Madden NFL. This is Madden NFL 20, actually. I'm playing here on the Xbox Series X. And yeah, we're going to just see what happens, I guess. I mean, neither of us have any Madden expertise, that's fair to say, right?
Yeah, well, I've never played this game before.
Here we go. Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. Is this where the Super Bowl is actually going to take place this weekend?
Yeah, so I think Tampa Bay are the first team in NFL history to be playing the Super Bowl at their home stadium, which is very cool. So it looks like I'm kicking to you. And there's like a power meter. So I'm gonna give it. Here we go.
I'm hard man.
Oh, I've absolutely. That's not where I think I was aiming.
Here I go.
Get him!
Oh, that's awful. That's awful.
There we go. Oh yeah, you lost some yards there. Thank you.
First suggestion. Okay, filter plays. So I've got to pick a play, basically.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm going to go for this.
Okay, and what happens is based on you picking a play, it then gives me plays off the back of that.
Okay. I do not know what buttons to press to make this happen.
Oh, good start!
First
Good
down.
Start. That's Kelsey's like the main catcher as well. So good awareness to throw to him.
So for those of you who maybe don't know how American football works, it's a game where you're constantly trying to move forward 10 yards, at least. I got pushed back there. So I was aiming for that yellow line, which is the 10-yard line from where I was, and now I've got a second attempt to try and reach that line. You have 4 attempts, known as downs, and if you don't manage it, the ball gets turned over and they come back the other way. Obviously, if you get further than that line, you get to do again. I don't know what I pressed there. I think I pressed the wrong one. We're going to find out. I've got 2nd and 5 here, so my second attempt, 5 yards to go. What have I done?
I think you... Nice, boys!
So I think me and you...
Crunch time now. 3rd down.
Me and you will both be, I believe, supporting the Buccaneers this Sunday.
Yep.
So I probably want the Chiefs to lose, and maybe I'll play according to type.
I think everyone likes an underdog.
Yeah. So when you get to 4th down, you pretty much always punt it at this point, because you're basically saying you don't want to risk the turnover, so you should rather kick it downfield and let them go from back there. I tried to trick him. I tried to do a trick play. I tried to pretend I was punting and I was actually going to run it, and it did not work.
Oh God! You give me a lot of yards there.
Yeah, I think this could be a touchdown for you.
You would have got a lot of money if you bet on that play in the Super Bowl. First drive. I like the boat. I'm looking forward to seeing that on Sunday. the pirate ship in the background. Oh no!
He's been sacked.
Oh no! Oh no! That means you're going to give me the pressure of a field goal.
Yeah.
Oh god! I didn't do well. Oh, that was a quick quarter.
Yeah. Oh, does that mean when we pick it up, will you be taking a?
I'll still be taking a field goal. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we've turned down the times here so that this video doesn't last all day.
Right, here we go. No pressure. Oh god, it's scary. Right, here we go. Oh no, probably not going to be good. Oh no, but wide! Oh no, I completely messed up the up on the power bar. I nailed it down, but I fucked up the up. Oh, we are absolutely flying through this game. Oh, then you got to pick the play again. Oh, if I stop you doing a touchdown here, that'd be very impressive for myself. No. Make sure you celebrate.
Oh, how do I celebrate? What was I supposed to press?
I think it was like right stick. Right stick.
So after you score a touchdown in American football, you get a chance to go for a field goal, which is.
Oh, let's see if you can do it. Oh my god, Adam. So many. Oh, I just throw to the ground. So many trick plays.
I'm all about the trick plays. I
can't deal with it. I can't deal with it. Well, I can deal with it. I've scuffed you twice, but it's just gonna be an onside. Oh no, you've actually gone normal here. Take a knee. Take a knee. Good kick.
I mean, there's so little time in this game. You've got to make a real drive for the touchdown.
Yeah.
Sack.
Oh no! I'm too busy looking ahead.
Yeah, you're letting the pressure get to you. The pressure of the big game.
It really is. It really is. I think my defensive line are not helping me out here.
This year's halftime show in the Super Bowl is The Weeknd. So at halftime, I'm going to get Pete to sing a Weeknd song for you. Is that right, Pete?
I don't even know it.
You're not down with the kids? You don't like Blinding Lights?
I think I have heard. Oh, I'm out. I think I have heard some of his songs, yeah, but I can't remember the lyrics, I'm afraid. And to be fair, I don't think anyone wants to hear me sing. Maybe if the chat is full of hearts during the stream, then maybe next.
Put some hearts in the chat if you want to hear Pete sing The Weeknd.
Yeah. This kick is awful. Oh, that's
good follow up there.
My special teams are doing alright. My offensive line, are pretty poor, and my defense is awful.
I feel like
you've got 33 seconds.
Got to go for the Hail Mary.
Yeah.
From midfield, here's Mahomes.
Get it!
Oh, it's an interception.
Oh no! Oh. Yeah, I've just called a timeout.
And that's a great example of ball skills right there, partner. You and I do a lot of games, and I can't tell you how many guys look to run with the football.
Oh man, that was not what I wanted. I had the game in my hand.
Big return then as well. Can I get down the field?
A little under 30 seconds to go. We'll see how they play it here on first and
I see it.
Oh!
Oh!
Ridiculous.
Oh!
Ridiculous.
Wow! What a play! I saw it. Oh, and if I get the touch, if I can get the kick.
Did you give away your strategy there by saying if you get a touchdown?
If I get the kick, it puts the pressure back on you, buddy.
count on the defense being a little bit jumbled coming out on the field.
I'm not going to make the kick, but if I do...
And that's exactly what they did there. They threw it down.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh. Oh, my God. I must be pressing the wrong button.
That's amazing.
Oh,
What button
absolutely.
are you pressing?
And we are back. There we go. Bit of pre-Super Bowl NFL action.
Yeah, as I said in the chat, I hope the quality is a little bit better on Sunday than that. Although I appreciated the fake outs by Adam. That is definitely the sign of someone who hasn't played Madden very much, because they barely ever work.
If you were gripped by that, then the full version of that video will be available on YouTube shortly after we finish, which we'll make sure we link.
Yes, and if you're still with us, which hopefully you are, otherwise you wouldn't hear me saying this, we're now going to talk about, as I mentioned before, one of our favourite subjects, the extended experience, and this is coming hot off the back of the announcement of Sonic. We thought it would be interesting to have a look at the impact that TV shows and films that have been adapted from video games and the impact that they have on video game sales. But just before we get going, for anyone who might not have heard us speak about it before, we've talked about it on our blog and on our YouTube channel. Dan, do you just want to explain what we mean by the extended experience?
Yes, I would love to. And for those that have heard me talk about this, sorry, but here we go again. So when we talk with our clients in the games industry, we talk about the extended experience as the overall player journey with an IP or with a game studio, and that's kind of easy to default to thinking, well, that's when they start playing the game, and then it ends when they stop playing the game. But that's what we refer to as the core experience, and actually your interaction with a game title starts way before then and it lasts way after then. And so we call this the extended experience, which is effectively starting when you first hear about a game. So when it's first on your radar, that's the beginning of your experience with a brand or a game or a studio. And when we give that due consideration, we can start to plan and curate that experience rather than just being a consequence of the news cycles or who happens to see our communications. And if we plan it as a considered part of the overall experience, we can start to take the DNA from a game and really feed that through into every piece of marketing, communications, and engagement work that we do. So that can be stemming from trailers to companion apps to your website to your marketing campaign. And as we say, this can span all the way into the future, long after a game has you've played through a game, but actually you're remembering it fondly and chatting about it online. That's still you're still having an experience with this brand. So that's what we call the extended experience. And a big part of that, as is more and more frequently used and has been around for a long time, is this idea of sort of TV and film tie-ins, which I believe is what we're going to be talking about today.
It is, yeah. So it's not a new concept, the adaptation of video games into films and TV series. We've spoken before about how it's quite they can go hand in hand. It's quite a medium that they work well together, and you can adapt them, and because of the storytelling, it works quite well. But I want to start off by talking about The Witcher, which I know that you're a fan of, Dan. So I was just doing a bit of research, as I like to do. And from December 2018 and then the year-on-year number in December 2019, they saw a 554% increase in sales of physical copies of The Witcher 3, which is a huge increase. And what happened in December 2019? The Witcher series was released on Netflix. So there's no getting away that had a massive impact on the physical sales. And not only the physical sales, in December, the game beat its launch day numbers on Steam. It also broke its record for concurrent players. It went over 100,000 concurrent players in January of 2020, obviously not long after the series came out. And we also talk a lot about long life games, and it wasn't just an impact on The Witcher 3 that the series had. The first game in the series beat its concurrent player record, which was nowhere near as high, but it got over 12,000 concurrent players for the first time it ever had, and that was the first game in the series. The second game didn't break any records, but it saw a big bump in its players. And as someone who's watched the series and played the game, did the series make you re-engage with the game or engage with the game for the first time?
So I probably wasn't that long after having experienced the game that I heard about the Netflix series, so it was very well timed for me. I haven't gone back to the game since, but it's worth noting as well for anybody who's not overly familiar with the series. The Witcher originally was actually a series of novels. So it was a book first. So when we talk about the extended experience, this brand has gone from books to games to TV, and as you say, kind of the impact of one going to the other is clearly significant. And I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, I think I remember reading this that the TV series had an impact on the games, and the games have also had an impact on the book sales, and they're all kind of boosting each other. And those numbers are significant because this was not a small game to begin with. This was a very popular, very well regarded, well sold game in the first instance, which is obviously why they chose that this is a powerful enough brand to bring to Netflix. But yeah, that is some significant impact as a result of that transmedia move.
Yeah, you're right. And on the books as well, I did see as well that 500,000 extra copies were sent to print as a result off the back of the series. So that's, as you said, that's a great example of 3 different entertainment mediums working together to have kind of like this groundswell, all helping each other to benefit. And so I guess the question is, there's a second season of The Witcher that's going to be coming or has come. Will you play the game? Do you think you will get back into the game when the series comes out? Because obviously that's what's happened with the first series. Do you think that's going to happen with the second series? I think it will. You personally, do you think you'll play, and do you think we'll see a similar effect?
That is a good question, actually, because we all know I'm a sucker for the hype train of things, and yeah, I'm very excited for the second season of The Witcher on Netflix. And yeah, I certainly haven't exhausted all there is to see. I haven't ever played the first 2 Witcher games, so maybe that's viable fodder. But what it also does lead me to ponder is the Witcher series of games, obviously made by CD Projekt Red, who make Cyberpunk 2077. I'm yet to check that out, and I know it's kind of got that's obviously it's a completely different game, but it's got that same open world narrative experience. So again, yeah, be interested to see if there's a knock-on effect on that as well.
Yeah, and obviously we've got The Last of Us TV series, which is coming soon. So it'll be interesting to see if that has kind of the Witcher effect. Will that see an influx of people playing and buying the game when that series hits? I'm going to put my neck on the line and say yes. I think that probably will happen because that is really is what the intention that they're going for is. I've got some numbers here for another game, a very, very different game. So Pokemon Go. The game had been out for quite a long time and was kind of not faltering, but kind of people, it wasn't as hyped as it was when it first came out. But then when the Detective Pikachu film was announced, they promoted the film as part of the game, added some new characters. That film came out in May of 2019, and it was reported that Pokemon Go saw an increase of 33% increase in in-game sales between January and April of that year while they were cross-promoting. So again, you can see how the anticipation of a film based on, not necessarily based on Pokemon Go, but based on that IP has driven people back into playing the game or maybe picking the game up for the first time. And, it's not 554%, but we know how big mobile gaming is and how high the in-game sales are. So to have a 33% increase in 4 months is huge off the back of the film promotion before the film even came out.
Yeah, and I'm sure the film was to some degree a success in and of itself. So yeah, the Pokemon company or whoever makes bank as a result of these is very happy with that little experiment.
Yeah, I mean the Pokemon IP is just ripe for. It was obviously there was a TV series and the games, and there's been a load of newbies before. Pokemon 2000, great film. But yeah, the power of the IP, like similar with The Witcher, they drive each other. Like people will go see the films because they like the games, and then people will go to the games if they like the films, and people who like both will groundswell and do both. So it's really interesting to see that those figures, like it's clear that it has an impact. And backing that up as well. Ubisoft, when the Assassin's Creed movie came out, which I think was 2016, they essentially said, they came out and said, this is a marketing thing. Like, this isn't for making a movie. This is a marketing tactic. They said that they weren't going to make an awful lot of money off of the film. But I've got a good quote from Ubisoft here, and they said, we have our core fans, but what we would like is to put the franchise in front of a lot more people who maybe will then pick up a future copy of Assassin's Creed. So clearly back in 2016, they could see the value in it, and it's quite refreshing for them just to come out in the open and be like, this is marketing. Like, and it's, not every game is going to be able to do this, but it's interesting that, a feature film, a Hollywood feature film, is factoring into somebody's marketing plan like that. So that is mind blowing.
To have those marketing budgets, hey.
Yeah, like would be nice, but it's cool to see them come out and they said that, and Assassin's Creed is huge, so it works. And Monster Hunter as well said a similar thing, not so bluntly, but their film came out I think just at the end of last year, and they said they were doing a number of initiatives to boost excitement and hype for the game franchise, of which the Hollywood adapted film is one of those things. So again, they're referencing that they're using the film to build the hype. And yeah, it's, as you say, it would be great to have those kind of budgets where you can throw a feature film into your marketing mix to raise engagement in your game. But we're seeing it more and more, and time after time, that people are engaging with this. So clearly, if you have the money to do that, it works. And it's not necessarily either that you can make you make the film yourself. There's money to be made off licensing the IP, which I assume is what happens a lot of the time, rather than the publishers doing the film. They license out the IP, and that gets it wider and gets broader appeal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's worth noting that obviously these are massive brands already, so it'd be you obviously have to consider, is our brand strong enough? We talk about long life games, do we have a legacy that spans long enough? And a big part of this will be, particularly I think Assassin's Creed is a good example, where this is perhaps saying, let's get back on the radar of maybe some lapsed gamers. The original Assassin's Creed is quite an old title now, and people grow up and get busy, and maybe they've moved out of the games media spheres where they would be aware of the latest Assassin's Creed news and things like that. Whereas when you take a sideways step into this other more mainstream, perhaps I say more mainstream, where people who wouldn't consider themselves active gamers anymore, they are probably more likely to see and consume movie media, and that could kind of inspire that. I want to go back and check out the game. So yeah, I think it's certainly a correlation of these impacts on sales and these success stories. And it's not going to be, you can't just take any game and make a movie of it. You've obviously got to have the renown and the audience, but clearly when you get that right, it really helps.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about hitting the medium where the people are, because me myself, I'm a big film fan, big TV series fan. So if those things cross my view and they get my attention, that is what's going to necessarily pull me back into a game. It's like, oh yeah, I remember how much I like this. And going back to what you were saying at the beginning about the experience doesn't start and end with putting the game in and taking it out of the disk drive. It's that gets your attention, and it's about hitting those touch points that aren't the game, because we all interact with a multitude of different screens and media, and if you just limit yourself to the game itself, you're essentially leaving money on the table, you're leaving people's time on the table, because if they are interested in your IP, they'll want to get as much out of it as possible. So if you're a fan of a game and then a TV series comes out, chances are you're going to watch the TV series. Or if you're a fan of the game, not played the game recently, and the TV series come out, it's going to prompt you to get back in, because that's reminded you about it. It's getting in front of people, as you say, where they are. And we know from the figures, people watch a lot of TV and a lot of films. So
I think it's interesting as well with this kind of modern era of these adaptations. They're being done extremely well. I mean, obviously there's always some objectivity, but when you look back to maybe, this is, like you said, this isn't a new practice. Film games like Tomb Raider, for example, or there's film adaptations go back a long time, but it seems like the the quality bar, and I don't know if it's the respect for the IP that's now at a good place, or whether it's the actual quality of the IPs themselves now are at a point where this does seamlessly transition to the big and small screen. And the just there was a period when it's like, oh, cringe, there's an adaptation being made, but that's not the case anymore. It is genuinely exciting for these announcements and these reveals, and the fan base are kind of expecting of it and always willing to embrace, which is great opportunity for these studios with those powerful brands.
Yeah, and what we've spoke about before, like in our blogs and on our other videos, is that it gives people who work on the games and are involved in the games another creative outlet as well, because there's a lot of the games are such narrative-driven games and story-driven games that there's a whole multitude of different ways that you can take characters, take themes, take ideas, and if you break that out of just the game and you go into TV or you go into film or you go into comics or books, that you can explore that, and it really lets the creative people flex their muscles and take their IP further than you could potentially take it if you just restrict yourself to the game. So it not only benefits the people who are fans of the game, it also lets the people who have created the games and love their IP like it's their child. They can do what they want with it, and they can push it even further than they have on the games consoles. So
yeah, is there any particular games that you or anybody in the chat would be particularly interested in seeing an adaptation to film or TV of? Anything that springs to mind for you, or any that you know of that you're excited about?
Well, I was a big fan of the GoldenEye game, so if they make a GoldenEye film, I'd definitely be up for seeing that. Adam has said Mass Effect 2, the movie, of course.
Of course, he has. I mean, that does seem like I'm a big sci-fi film fan. So yeah, the Mass Effect universe appeals to me from a film or TV. I'd be interested in seeing that.
Yeah. Any others that you'd be up for? I'm trying to think anything I've played recently which could, because I me, I'm always like, all my favorite games are like on the Nintendo 64.
Super Mario Land.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd watch a Super Mario movie.
Yeah, I mean, you could. I think. I mean, any of the AAA blocks, and I mean, we mentioned it on the show before. If The Last of Us, is that got a TV series?
Yeah, the TV series is coming. They've just changed their director, and I'm not even going to attempt to say the name because I absolutely butchered it in the news the other week. But they've just picked up a new director for that on HBO, and HBO typically do great TV series. So I'm sure that's going to be brilliant. Steve is saying Overcooked the movie.
There we go.
That would be good. That would be hectic. I remember playing Overcooked.
Yes.
With the Etch play team, and it got heated.
It did. It's a great fun game, and that's another like obviously that's maybe not a conventional thing you'd think of, but you do see some, like the Detective Pikachu was a real sort of curveball in terms of that's not what you would have pictured, and maybe you could do the same. You could take Overcooked and you could make a Steven Seagal as a cook in a frantic train-based setting, perhaps.
Somebody write that screenplay because there's no way that's not getting bought.
Gears of War, yes, that's another suggestion from Steve. That could really, really work. That's a great universe, great setting. That would definitely get my attention. So many options for it. I think it's a great avenue to explore, and I think as you mentioned some of the other channels as well. We've got film, definitely, TV, absolutely, but comic books. We've talked about kind of shorts and cartoons, anime, all of those great channels just to get more of those worlds that do get lovingly crafted and created, and you want to understand more of. You want to understand the backstory. You want to know more of the characters. It's great to, as you were saying, kind of expand the canvas, get it out of just the game experience.
Yeah, and we know from the numbers that fans enjoy this and clamor for it, and fans will do their own fan fictions and create videos and create stories. So it's there for the picking. If if there's enough interest in your IP and you've got enough desire to do it, then yeah, it's absolutely worth exploring. As we've said, it's not going to work for every title. The ones we've talked about are obviously huge games, but that doesn't mean that if you haven't built up a fandom around your game, it doesn't have to be the size of Assassin's Creed to be able to push those boundaries and try something different to kind of get in on this extended experience that we talk about and give fans another way of interacting with the game. You don't have to be the biggest game in the world to do something different and interesting.
I think that's really interesting, and this is an exercise we do with our clients a lot. Is we kind of suggest, let's just take the restrictions and the limitations off the table. What could this look like if time and budget weren't an issue? And sometimes you can't. Yeah, you might have a smaller brand, a smaller budget, but if you picture what it could be, and then you think actually that's got so much opportunity, or that's so exciting, maybe there's a way we can figure out how to do this comic book or shorts, or there are ways, and it's a good way of building a small audience by having a larger surface area, operating in more channels. But yeah, we can't all make Hollywood blockbusters, but it's definitely worth kind of envisaging what might that look like if we could, and is there a version of that we can achieve.
Absolutely. And we could talk about this all day. We've got a longer video where we talk all about the extended experience on our YouTube channel. So you can go check that out on YouTube, Etch Play. And yeah, don't forget, after the show, the longer edition of the Madden video is also on the YouTube channel. So go check that out. In the meantime, you can hit us up on Twitter. We'll be back next week at 4 p.m. for another live show with more news, more checking out games, and we'll be chatting video games marketing. And yeah, I just want to thank everyone for joining us once again. Pleasure to have you. Thank you for speaking to us in the chat. We always like having conversations with you guys. And Dan, thank you very much for joining me. And
thank you.
Talking about the extended experience. I know it's a struggle. You don't really like talking about it that much, but I appreciate you indulging me and having the conversation. So thank you for joining us. And yeah, we will see you next week.
Thank you very much, everyone. See you next week.